I work as a senior software engineer at a tech company in Portland, pulling in a decent six-figure salary. For 3 years, I thought I was building a future with Sarah, my girlfriend, who was chasing her dream of becoming an artist through a master's program in fine arts. I paid her tuition $28,000 a year. I covered her rent $1,900 monthly for an apartment near campus, even though I already owned a house. I gave her spending money roughly $1,000 each month for living expenses. I believed I was investing in our future together. I trusted her completely. But everything changed when I saw a text message on her phone from someone named Kyle. I never thought the person I trusted most would make me feel like a complete fool. Before we go further, drop a comment and let me know where you are watching from. Hit that like button and subscribe if you have not already. If you have ever felt used in a relationship, this story might hit close to home. Stick around to see how I turned the tables. I met Sarah at an art gallery opening in downtown Portland 3 years ago. She was standing in front of an abstract painting, genuinely lost in the colors and brushstrokes. I approached her. We started talking about the artwork, and within minutes I knew she was different. She had this passion for art that lit up her entire face when she spoke. She told me she had just gotten accepted into a prestigious Master of Fine Arts program and was terrified about the cost, but determined to follow her dream. I was immediately drawn to her authenticity and drive. I had been working in tech for nearly a decade by then, steadily climbing the ladder at my company. Money was not an issue for me. I lived simply, saved aggressively, and honestly did not have much to spend my income on besides the occasional gadget or weekend trip. When Sarah and I started dating seriously after about 6 months, she mentioned struggling to afford both her studio apartment near the art school and her basic living expenses while juggling classes and her part-time work at a coffee shop. Without hesitation, I offered to help. At first, she resisted. She said she did not want to feel like a burden or like she owed me anything. I assured her it was not like that at all. I told her I cared about her. I wanted to see her succeed, and I had the means to make her life easier so she could focus on her craft. Eventually, she agreed to let me cover her rent. Then tuition came up. The program cost $28,000 per year, and her financial aid only covered a fraction. I paid the difference. She cried when I wrote that first check, saying nobody had ever believed in her like this. I felt like a hero. As time went on, I also started covering her groceries, her art supplies even. Bought her that professional-grade oil paint set she had been eyeing for months. It cost me $800, but seeing her face light up made it worth every penny. I thought we were building something real. I imagined us getting engaged after she graduated, maybe buying a bigger house together, starting a family. Everything felt perfect. But around 6 months ago, things started shifting. Sarah began spending more and more time at her studio. She said her thesis project was demanding, requiring late nights and intense focus. I supported her completely. I even encouraged her to take all the time she needed. When she stopped texting as frequently or returning my calls as quickly, I told myself she was just stressed and busy. I did not want to be that clingy boyfriend who demanded attention when she had important work to do. One Thursday evening, I decided to surprise her with takeout from her favorite Thai restaurant. I drove to the art studio building around 7 p.m., expecting to find her covered in paint, exhausted but happy to see me. When I walked in, her usual workspace was empty. Her easel was there, a half-finished canvas sat untouched, but no Sarah. I asked a couple of her classmates if they had seen her. They exchanged awkward glances before one of them mentioned she had left around 5 p.m., maybe earlier. Confused, I called her. She picked up after a few rings, sounding slightly breathless. I asked where she was. She said she was at the library working on research for her thesis. I asked which library, thinking maybe I could drop off the food. She hesitated, then said the main downtown branch. Something in her voice felt off, but I did not push it. I told her I had food, and she said she had already eaten with a study group. I drove home that night with a knot in my stomach, but I convinced myself I was being paranoid. The signs continued. She became more distant, more secretive with her phone. She started putting it face down on tables, taking it with her even to the bathroom. If I walked into the room while she was texting, she would quickly close the app. When I asked who she was talking to, she would say it was just classmates or her friend Emma coordinating plans. I wanted to believe her. I really did. Then came that Saturday morning. Sarah had gone out for her usual morning run. She left her phone charging on the nightstand, something she rarely did. I was in the kitchen making coffee when I heard it buzz repeatedly from the bedroom. I walked in intending to bring it to her when she got back, but the screen lit up with notifications. The name that appeared made my blood run cold. Kyle with a heart emoji. The preview of the latest message read, "Last night was amazing. Cannot wait to see you again tonight." My hands started shaking. I knew her passcode. She had given it to me months ago, saying she had nothing to hide. I unlocked the phone. What I found in those messages destroyed me. Conversations going back 3 months. Flirty texts. Photos they had sent each other. Plans to meet up. Kyle calling her babe. Sarah sending him heart emojis and telling him how much she missed him. One message from Kyle stood out like a knife to my chest. One Thursday evening, I decided to surprise her with takeout from her favorite Thai restaurant. I drove to the art studio building around 7 p.m., expecting to find her covered in paint, exhausted but happy to see me. When I walked in, her usual workspace was empty. Her easel was there, a half-finished canvas sat untouched, but no Sarah. I asked a couple of her classmates if they had seen her. They exchanged awkward glances before one of them mentioned she had left around 5 p.m. I heard the front door open. Sarah called out that she was back. I did not respond. I just sat there holding her phone. She walked into the bedroom, still in her running clothes, and froze when she saw me with her phone in my hands. Her face went completely white. I looked up at her and simply asked, "Who is Kyle?" She opened her mouth, closed it, then whispered, "It is not what you think." I stood up and handed her the phone, the messages still open on the screen. I told her to explain. She started crying immediately, saying Kyle was just a friend, they had only hung out a few times for coffee, nothing serious. I pointed to the messages where they talked about sleeping together, where they made plans to see each other that very night. She broke down completely, sobbing that she felt lonely because I was always working, that she made a terrible mistake, that it meant nothing. I asked her to leave. I told her I needed a few days to think and I needed her out of the house. She dropped to her knees, literally begging me not to throw away 3 years over one mistake. She swore she would cut off all contact with Kyle, block him immediately, do whatever it took to fix this. I stood there watching her cry, feeling completely numb. Part of me wanted to throw her out immediately, but 3 years of history, 3 years of memories made me hesitate. Against my better judgment, I told her she could stay, but only if she blocked Kyle right then and there in front of me and committed to complete transparency going forward. She agreed, instantly deleting his contact, showing me the blocked number, promising it was over. For the next 2 weeks, Sarah transformed into what seemed like the perfect girlfriend. She cooked my favorite meals. She left sweet notes around the house. She was attentive, affectionate, always asking about my day and making sure I felt loved. She stopped being secretive with her phone, leaving it out in the open, even handing it to me sometimes and saying I could check it whenever I wanted. I started to believe maybe we could actually get past this. Maybe it really had been a one-time lapse in judgment, and she genuinely regretted it. But I could not shake a nagging feeling in my gut. Something still felt wrong. I heard the front door open. Sarah called out that she was back. I did not respond. I just sat there holding her phone. She walked into the bedroom, still in her running clothes, and froze when she saw me with her phone in my hands. Her face went completely white. I looked up at her and simply asked, "Who is Kyle?" She opened her mouth, closed it, then whispered, "It is not what you think." I stood up and handed her the phone, the messages still open on the screen. I told her to explain. One evening while she was in the shower, I decided to check our joint bank account. I had opened it for her about a year into our relationship to make it easier to transfer her monthly living expenses. She had a debit card linked to it and could withdraw cash or make purchases as needed. I logged in and started scrolling through recent transactions. My stomach dropped. Over the past 2 months, Sarah had withdrawn $3,500 in cash and made charges I did not recognize. She walked in with a towel wrapped around her hair, smiling, asking what I wanted for dinner. I turned the laptop toward her and asked what these charges were for. Her smile faded. She stammered something about needing art supplies and materials for her thesis. I asked her to show me receipts for art supplies totaling $3,500. She could not. Her face flushed. She finally admitted she had been going out with friends, more treating them to meals and drinks, maybe spending more than she should have. I asked her why she needed to stay at a hotel downtown. She had no answer. The lies were piling up, and I was exhausted. I told her I knew she was still lying to me, and I wanted the truth. She insisted she was telling the truth, that she had just been careless with money. I closed the laptop and said nothing else that night. I went to bed angry, and she slept on the couch. A week later, I received a text from an unknown number. It simply said, "You deserve to know the truth about Sarah. This is Emma." I stared at the message, my heart racing. Emma was Sarah's best friend from her program. Why would she be texting me anonymously? I replied, asking what she meant. Within seconds, my phone buzzed with a long message. Emma explained she could not stay silent anymore. She said Sarah had been lying to me. Sarah was still seeing Kyle, just using a different phone number that I did not know about. They had been meeting up regularly, and Kyle knew all about me, knew I was paying for everything in Sarah's life. Emma sent me screenshots from a group chat Sarah was part of with several friends. In those messages, Sarah talked about me like I was a joke. She wrote, "He is a nice guy but boring. Kyle is so much more exciting. Plus, Steven pays for everything, so why would I leave now?" Another message showed her laughing about how easy it was to convince me to give her a second chance. She even said Steven is so desperate to make it work, he will believe anything I tell him. I read those messages 3 times, each word cutting deeper. I sat alone in my living room in complete darkness for over an hour, just staring at the wall. The pain of the initial betrayal was one thing, but this level of mockery, this calculated manipulation, it was something else entirely. She did not just cheat. She was actively using me, planning to keep using me, until she graduated, then leave me for Kyle. I was nothing but a paycheck to her. But after that initial wave of shock and hurt, something shifted inside me. The sadness turned into clarity. I was not going to confront her with tears and accusations. I was not going to give her another chance to lie or manipulate her way out of this. I was going to take action quietly and decisively. I was going to cut off every single financial tie and watch her house of cards collapse. I stayed up all night making a plan. First, I would cancel the supplementary credit card I had given her, the one linked to my account that she used for everyday expenses. Second, I would transfer all money out of our joint account back into my personal account and close the joint one. Third, I would contact her university's financial office and inform them I would no longer be covering her tuition effective immediately for the upcoming semester. Fourth, I would notify her apartment's landlord that I would not be renewing the lease, which was in my name. Fifth, I would cancel all the subscriptions and services I paid for that she used: Netflix, Spotify, her gym membership, everything. The plan was methodical. I would not do it all at once in a fit of rage. I would do it systematically over the next few days, giving her no warning, no chance to prepare or beg her way out of it. I wanted her to feel the consequences of her choices in real time. The next morning, I acted completely normal. I made breakfast, kissed Sarah on the forehead like I always did, and went to work. Once I got to the office, I called my bank. I had the supplementary card canceled immediately. I transferred every dollar from the joint account into my personal savings. I sent an email to the university's bursar office explaining I was withdrawing financial support and would not be responsible for any future tuition charges for Sarah. I called her landlord and gave notice that I would not renew the lease next month. I logged into every subscription service and removed her access. All of it done in less than 4 hours. It felt efficient, cold, but incredibly liberating. For the first time in weeks, I felt like I had control over my own life again. 3 days passed. I went about my routine as if nothing had changed. Sarah had no idea what was coming. Then on a Wednesday afternoon, she went shopping with one of her friends. She tried to pay for lunch with the supplementary card I had given her. The card was declined. Confused, she tried again, declined again. She called me immediately, her voice tight with frustration. She asked if there was something wrong with the card. I told her calmly I canceled it. There was silence on the other end. Then she asked why. I said, I think you should start using your own money. She sounded angry now, asking what my problem was saying. We needed to talk about this when I got home. I simply said sure and hung up. That evening I came home to find Sarah had cooked an elaborate dinner. Candles on the table, my favorite pasta dish, wine poured. She was trying to butter me up, manipulate me again. I sat down and ate in silence while she tried to make small talk. Finally, she brought up the card. That is my money. I earned it. You just spent it. She tried to argue that we were a couple, that couples share finances. I asked her what she had contributed financially to our relationship in 3 years. She had no answer. Then I delivered the next blow. I told her I had also contacted the school. I would not be paying her tuition for the next semester. She looked like I had slapped her. She started yelling, asking if I was serious, asking how she was supposed to finish her degree. Second, I would transfer all money out of our joint account back into my personal account and close the joint one. Third, I would contact her university's financial office and inform them I would no longer be covering her tuition effective immediately for the upcoming semester. Fourth, I would notify her apartment's landlord that I would not be renewing the lease, which was in my name. I said, that is your problem now, not mine. She began crying, asking why I was suddenly doing this, what had changed. I pulled out my phone, opened the screenshots Emma had sent me, and placed the phone on the table in front of her. I said, I know about Kyle. I know you never stopped seeing him. I know you were planning to use me until you graduated, then leave me for him. Sarah stared at the phone, her face completely white. She tried to deny it, saying those messages were taken out of context, that Emma was lying. I asked her why Emma would lie. She had no answer. She crumpled into the chair, putting her head in her hands, sobbing. After a few minutes, she looked up and admitted everything. She said it started as just a distraction, a way to feel excitement because our relationship had become routine. She said it spiraled out of control, but she did care about me. She begged for one more chance. I told her I had already given her a second chance and she had wasted it. She changed tactics, then getting angry. She said, after everything I did for you, I gave you 3 years. I almost laughed. I asked her what exactly she had done for me. I pointed out that I had paid for her rent, her tuition, her food, her entire lifestyle for 3 years. I asked what she had contributed besides spending my money and cheating on me. She could not respond. I told her she had until the end of the month to move out. The apartment lease was in my name, and I had already informed the landlord I was not renewing it. She looked horrified, asking where she was supposed to go. I suggested maybe Kyle can help you. Over the next 2 weeks, I watched Sarah's world fall apart, and I felt zero sympathy. She tried calling Kyle, expecting him to step up now that I was out of the picture. But when Kyle found out I had cut her off financially, he suddenly was not so interested anymore. He told her he was not ready for anything serious, that he thought they were just having fun. Sarah was devastated. She came back to me multiple times, begging, crying, saying she would do anything to fix things. I blocked her number. She showed up at my office. I told building security not to let her in. She sent emails. I filtered them to spam. By the end of the month, Sarah had no choice but to move back in with her parents, who lived about 50 miles outside the city in the suburbs. She had to withdraw from the semester because she could not afford tuition. Without my financial support, she could not maintain her lifestyle or even her enrollment. I heard through mutual acquaintances that she tried getting a job, but having been supported for so long, she struggled to adjust to actually working and supporting herself. She had become dependent on me, and now she was paying the price for taking that for granted. As for me, I threw myself into work. About a month after Sarah moved out, I was offered a promotion to lead engineer. It came with a 25% salary increase. I accepted immediately. With Sarah gone, I had more time and energy to focus on my career, my health, and my own happiness. I started going to the gym regularly again. I reconnected with friends I had neglected. I said, "That is your problem now, not mine." She began crying, asking why I was suddenly doing this, what had changed. I pulled out my phone, opened the screenshots Emma had sent me, and placed the phone on the table in front of her. I said, "I know about Kyle. I know you never stopped seeing him. I know you were planning to use me until you graduated, then leave me for him." Sarah stared at the phone, her face completely white. She had her own career, her own apartment, her own life. It was refreshing. We exchanged numbers, and over the next few weeks, we started seeing each other casually. It was not love at first sight, but it was a healthy, balanced beginning. There was mutual respect, equality, and genuine interest in each other as people, not as providers or dependents. About 6 months after everything fell apart with Sarah, I ran into her at a coffee shop downtown. She looked tired, worn down. She was sitting alone with a laptop, probably working on freelance graphic design gigs to make ends meet. She saw me and tried to smile. I nodded politely, but did not stop to talk. I was there with Natalie, who was laughing at something on her phone, completely at ease. Sarah watched us for a moment, and I could see the regret in her eyes. But I felt nothing. No anger, no sadness, no satisfaction. Just indifference. That was the last time I saw her. Looking back on everything, the healing process was not instant. Even though I had been decisive in cutting Sarah off, there were still nights when I felt lonely, when I questioned if I had been too harsh. But every time doubt crept in, I reminded myself of those text messages of her laughing at me with her friends, calling me boring, calling me an ATM. That reminder made the doubt disappear. I had not been harsh. I had been fair. I had simply stopped allowing myself to be used. I spent a lot of time working on myself during those months. I read books about boundaries in relationships, about recognizing manipulation, about self-worth. I started seeing a therapist not because I was broken, but because I wanted to understand why I had allowed myself to be taken advantage of for so long. My therapist helped me realize that generosity is not a flaw, but it needs to be given to people who value it, who reciprocate it in their own ways. Love is not about money. Love is respect, honesty, partnership. I had confused providing for someone with loving them, and Sarah had confused being provided for with being loved. I also learned the importance of balance in relationships. When one person holds all the financial power, it can create an unhealthy dynamic. The person receiving can start to feel entitled rather than grateful. They can lose their sense of independence and responsibility. I had unintentionally made Sarah completely dependent on me, and in doing so, I had enabled her to take me for granted. In my new relationship with Natalie, we split costs fairly. We both contributed. We both had our own careers and our own financial independence. That equality created mutual respect and appreciation that I had never experienced with Sarah. I learned that setting boundaries is not cruel. It is necessary. When someone crosses a line, you have every right to enforce consequences. Forgiveness does not mean accepting poor treatment. You can forgive someone for your own peace of mind while still choosing to remove them from your life. I forgave Sarah not for her sake, but for mine. I let go of the anger because holding on to it was only hurting me. But forgiveness did not mean giving her another chance or staying in a toxic situation. It meant acknowledging what happened, learning from it, and moving forward without bitterness. I want to talk directly to anyone watching this who might be in a similar situation. If you feel like you are being used in your relationship, trust your gut. If you are the only one giving, the only one sacrificing, the only one investing, something is wrong. A healthy relationship is a partnership. Both people should be contributing in their own ways, whether that is financially, emotionally, or through effort and time. If your partner only values what you can provide rather than who you are, that is not love. That is exploitation. Do not be afraid to ask questions. Do not be afraid to set boundaries. Do not be afraid to walk away if those boundaries are not respected. You deserve to be loved for who you are, not for what you can give. Do not let anyone turn you into an ATM, a safety net, or a placeholder while they figure out what they really want. Your worth is not measured by your bank account. You are valuable because of your character, your kindness, your integrity. Make sure the people in your life see that and appreciate it. And if you find yourself in the position I was in where you discover betrayal and manipulation, do not let guilt or history trap you. 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, it does not matter. If someone is using you, disrespecting you, betraying you, you have every right to walk away. You do not owe anyone your future just because of your past. It is okay to cut your losses and start fresh. It is okay to prioritize yourself. Sometimes the best revenge is not revenge at all. It is simply moving on and building a better life. Because when you stop paying for things that do not add value to your life, you finally start investing in yourself. And that, my friends, is priceless. Now I want to hear from you. Have you ever been in a relationship where you felt taken for granted or used? How did you handle it? Drop your story in the comments below. And if this story resonated with you, do me a favor, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you have not already, and share this video with someone who might need to hear it. Your support means everything and helps me keep bringing you real stories like this one. Thank you so much for watching. And remember, know your worth and never settle for less. Take care, and I will see you in the next one.